今叩き割ってやっからよ。いやー、おら
I gotta admit, this isn't the most memorable introduction to a story in my opinion. Now yes, this is the foundation of which the rest of the story follows, yes, but if I'm being honest, most of the rest of that story is a lot more indelible to me. By itself, it's a great introduction to the character of Monkey D. Luffy, a character whom Eiichiro Oda seemed to have already had conceptually fully realized right out of the gate. A young rubber man in search of crew, adventure, and the world's greatest treasure left behind by the world's greatest pirate. However, it's when we see his motives as to why he aspires to be like this to begin with that it's not just for the fun of it, nor is it for the treasure. Shanks, despite his duty as captain of his own crew, is a man of peace. He knows when and when not to step into any sort of conflict, and when he does, he goes about it in either a mellowed out but strategic manner, or just brushes it off entirely. These are the sort of values that are bestowed onto Luffy as he grows up, coupled with this admiration for Shanks, which becomes more clear than ever after he loses an arm to protect Luffy from a sea monster. The simplicity, yet also richness given to his character with that context personally proved to me to be an immensely captivating and compelling backstory for him, and just what kind of person he truly is. Oh, right, the arc. This first portion on Alvida's ship demonstrates some of the more wonder and spectacle both the story in general and the anime have to offer. Kobe leaving Alvida's crew and wanting to be free from the clutches of a pirate lifestyle to join the Marines is an admittedly simple and kinda obvious contrast to that of Luffy's aspirations, but is executed very well upon his introduction. We also get our first glimpse at what kind of action the series has to offer, wonderfully brought to life by Toei Animation and its staff. Namely Dragon Ball veteran Kazuya Hisada, a regular key animator and animation director for the series, and a name who will become much more important to it in the following years. Our boys managed to escape the ship and set out on their voyage to the Grand Line, but not without some additional crew members, chief among them being a swordsman, a man who even Luffy is interested in because of his reputation. Now this is an excellent introduction. Zoro's debut immediately brings a mysterious and somewhat eerie tone to the story, partially thanks to the moment's imagery, traits that he himself seemed to personify. Like Luffy before him, said traits are given further context once we not only see his motives, but his reasons for said motives. Ashamed at himself for constantly being outclassed in sword-to-sword combat by the daughter of his master, despite claiming that he will be the world's greatest swordsman, Roronoa Zoro forms a promise to her to see who will truly hold the mantle to that title. But then, tragedy strikes.
Kuinaga 死んだ。
A grief-stricken Zoro begs to have his friend's sword passed down to him so that he lives up to the promise they made for each other, a request approved and blessed by her father. This backstory makes the character incredibly compelling in my eyes. Behind the cold, stoic face of Zoro lies a man stopping at nothing to ensure he dies without any unfulfilled dreams and promises, to ensure that he dies without any regrets. But before we get to see that, here's this spoiled daddy's boy asshole making a complete fool of himself. So Helmeppo and the Marines here have Zoro scheduled to be executed in 10 days, and after rightfully being punched by Luffy, now wants to execute them both immediately. Enter this Marine captain and Helmeppo's father, Axe-Hand Morgan, and my god, I really hope he was intentionally written to be this forgettable. Listen, as an introduction to a superior of your average Marine, it honestly kind of blows when compared to how it's done later on. But for what it is here, Morgan's a fine antagonist, serving as the first big obstacle Luffy and Zoro overcome together. And so, with the first official member of his crew, Luffy sets his sights back on the search for the One Piece, with the Marines just so happening to also boot them off the island. This puts Kobe at a crossroads until...
やったなこの野郎この野郎この野郎この野郎
おいやりすぎだその辺にしとけよ
This sort of finale sequence to the arc made the character of Kobe, to me, go from feeling like he was just mostly there to feeling that every minute of screen time with him had suddenly been worth it. The opposite side contrast between him and Luffy's aspirations introduced in the beginning of the arc now concludes with both parties respectfully going their separate ways. And thus, Monkey D. Luffy and his first crewmate now embark on their voyage to the Grand Line. Romance Dawn is a solid arc, both as an introduction to a story and in the grand scheme of the rest of the series. While it is both the manga and the anime at its most primitive in terms of world building, the character introductions, Luffy and Zoro's especially, are simple but engaging and compelling enough to make me think about how they become the people they are upon their debut. I'd personally be content with giving this arc a 7.5 out of 10. There was just enough to keep me fully invested in the journey, and I overall just had a pretty good time with it.